Hey, everybody. Welcome to Self Cell Care. And today we have the Rockstar coach, Michelle Froge, my,
Hello, everybody.
my sister, my spiritual gangster sister. So I'm really excited. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you, my book is publishing in a few days. Emotional healing, toxic free living.
Mm,
And as you might imagine, as someone writes a book like that, you have to process a lot of information. And there's quite a few reality checks. I just want to say hi to Tinker. She's on air with us today. Yeah, she's the cutest thing on the planet. So we'll just do this version. Um, so when you're publishing a book that's emotional healing, toxic free living, okay, what's your message, honey? Got it. She says, get to the point. Okay, so stop it, and I will. Emotional healing, toxic free living is my life, right? It's my life on steroids. It's how I uh, reclaimed my health, and how I unraveled how I got so sick starting as a 7-year old, right? Actually, as a 4-year old. And the book is aimed at helping people to have the courage, really, because it took a lot of courage, I'm going to tell you now, to look at the things we don't want to look at that have driven the outcome of who we are today, how we react or respond to what we have today, and how we can effectively choose differently. What are the tools that get us there? And how you can love yourself with your darkness, okay, and your light. And understanding that we have duality, right? And there's no escaping the duality. We are all dark and we are all light. And, um, uh, I use a variety of modalities to help myself. But the very first modality was having Dr. Michelle Kukla, getting a proper diagnosis. For those who don't know, I was misdiagnosed back in 1997 um, with a mental health condition because I fell down at work and tore my rotator cuffs. Three, fairly significant tear. And I gave my power away when the company I was working for said, no, you need to do this through workman's comp. You can't see a chiropractor. You can't go get an x-ray. And they sent me to a psychiatrist and a physical therapist instead. And I allowed the Western Medical Club to use my body as an experiment. Now, I know that I came down here to Earth School for this purpose. It is okay. This is not a victim story, okay? Because I rose up, and the beauty of it is that I met some amazing souls along the way, especially the one sitting in front of me, and who taught me about holistic health, who taught me about real food as opposed to fake food, uh, who taught me about poison control, meaning if your food is made in a lab, it's not food, it's poison. And I really help people to um, get discernment in a safe place, to understand the impact of parasites and what that does to your brain health, what food sensitivities will do to your brain health, what a knock on the noggin will do to your brain health, and how when you're not looking at all these things, that people are getting labeled with things that they don't really should have. Somebody has the privilege of wings and feet. Anyways, and the show's over. No. Go ahead, Michelle. Go ahead. Got a question for me? Because you're doing the interview. We don't have a mic for you. Your mic's not working. That's weird.
You know why? Because I was typing and I didn't want everyone to hear the clickety clack, and so I turned it off.
Okay,
But
that's
I am
cool.
back. I am back. Um, so knowing now what you do and knowing from whence you came,
Hmm.
if you were to, because you have this platform, if
Hmm.
you were to summarize, and I know this is difficult because there's so much in
Yeah,
here, but if you could summarize in 2 sentences for the audience,
yeah. Hmm.
what would be the most pressing or the most impactful thing that you feel you could share?
Oh, well, that's easy. It's the
Good.
subtitle of the book, which is I give you a path to model new behaviors and reset old belief systems, and you have a safe place to do it.
Okay.
That makes
But not even not even necessarily because of like what the book is about. Like because you're you want to have impact. You wrote the book to impact people's lives in a positive way. So what would you tell them would be the most impactful thing that you could
oh
tell them?
oh yeah. So the easiest thing that you can do, well, there's two easy things that you can do.
Okay.
One, buy your food from your farmers and know who they are. Okay, that's the most important thing you can do because we really don't know what we're getting in the grocery stores right now. Okay.
Right.
Um, the second most impactful thing you can do is to buy your water filters. So there's a shower head, right? And one for the tap. And there's a variety of ways that you can filter your tap water. But
Hmm.
the reason that's so important is the same reason you want to buy organic, food.
Hmm.
Those the water, let's just take Cobb County, has 18 total contaminants that are above the EWG, which is Environmental Working Group, above that guideline, right? As for safe for consumption. And and there's way more than 18 total contaminants than that. And
Hmm.
if you think that you can get away with um, switching over to bottled water as a safe way, think again. You can't because the plastics in the bottled water are leaching into the water. And so now you go from 18 total contaminants to 38. Spoiler. And if you're showering in a toxic water where your skin doesn't have a filter, it goes straight into your bloodstream. So at least when you're drinking the water, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, your kidneys, your liver, your spleen, it's all filtering, right? Those toxins, and it does its job. But when it goes into your skin,
Hmm.
it's going straight into the bloodstream. People who have diabetes get sugar spikes, insulin spikes, and like my old boyfriend, he was diabetic, and so I was on my way to his house, and he fainted in the shower because he's not filtering his water. So because of the insulin spike, because
Hmm.
it's got fluoride in there. Excuse me. So
Hmm.
and actually, most recently, as in maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, they even announced what fluoride was doing to the neurodevelopment for brain health for children.
Yes, I saw that.
Hmm.
Well, and an interesting thing too to back that up is, a lot of people that I speak with who are, and I'm going to use the word ignorant. That's not a bad word. It means they're not educated on it, so that's okay. They're ignorant to all of these things and what they really mean. And so people that are ignorant to this will say, "Oh well," like you said, I buy bottled water, or I have a filter on my refrigerator. That's all that I drink or whatever. And even if that refrigerator filter was taking out all of the things that they think it is, which it's probably not.
It's usually arsenic and chlorine.
Nice, right? Okay. So even if it was taking out all of those things, I bet they're not using that same water for their pets? They might, but are they using it for their pets? Or are they filling up the pots that they're using to boil, pastas and those types? Are they using it to cook with? So even when people believe that they are doing the right thing, I bet there's things that they're forgetting. And so I love the fact that you educate on not just, hey, you need to do this or this is important to do, but you are explaining why. Because a lot of people, like I said, they think they're doing a good thing and they're just missing so many other steps in the process.
So yeah, and so let me respond to that because number
Please.
one, taking a bath, right? And you think that you're, let's say it is filtered water, by the way, and you're filtering your bath water. But if the bathtub is plastic, guess what? Essential oils in there, or it's that fiberglass. It's actually leaching that fiberglass and that plastic into your body as you're soaking. So you use a toxic hot soup. Okay.
So how can what material then can people bathe in safely?
Back to basics, ceramic. This is how it always was, tile and ceramic. And it's interesting that you bring it up the way that you do, by the way. So I was in high school, and I reference this in the book, and they told me to stay off of sugar. And I have a body like yours, right? At the time, I was a gymnast, right? And really, I had six-pack abs. And they're telling me to drink diet soda.
Ew.
Right, which is so bad for you. It's a chemical cocktail too. And I'm like, but I look really good. I'm not sure why I should not be having sugar. And they're not explaining this to me. And honestly, I don't think they really knew anyway. Even if they, maybe they did. I don't know. I can't make that decision. I can't make that assumption. But the truth is, what people don't understand is that sugar lights up 8 pleasure centers of the brain. It causes anxiety, it causes stress, and we get more sugar than what we need. Now, I'm not demonizing sugar. You want sugar from your fruit, you want, sugar from whatever vegetables or what have you, but you want to get it naturally, and you don't want a dump of sugar in your body. I mean, you just don't. And you also don't want a dump of chemicals either. Right? Laughing at me. She's so
So yeah, keep going. Go ahead.
Well, no, and so it's we've had to rewrite this book. Well, we lost the copy, right? It got deleted, so we had to recreate the book, and so I really had to reread all these chapters multiple times to make sure that we captured. Thank God I had the original manuscript, not in InDesign. And one of the things when I talk about prescription drugs and like all of that, is that people who are taking prescription. I want to talk from a corporate employee standpoint for a moment. Okay. So there's two things, one from the corporate and then the other from the mental health community. From the corporate standpoint, they've got copays that are very, very low for your drugs, and it makes it very enticing, okay? But when that company or when that doctor misdiagnosed me, and at first he had me on 8 different medications, I was like 20 to 25, and then eventually I was on 50 drugs all at once, right? And as I went through the paperwork, it wasn't 29 chronic conditions. I ended up with 54. Now, I want to tell you that I sold financial services. I was the number 1 salesperson, and I'm telling you this for a reason, not like because I need to boast, but as the number 1 salesperson in a 3-state region, and I did more than my entire team combined. Okay, I'm still not an affordable employee because my drugs are costing them. I'm not talking my copay. I'm talking because, let me back up. The drugs are costing them, the employer. And you think, well, no. The insurance company's paying for it. No. These financial companies are self-insured. which means they're covering that copay to the tune of $2.1 million a year. Or was it a month? I can't remember. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's so expensive.
Mhm.
And I think it was actually, I think it was a year. But so even if I haven't, I did investments, I'm making the company a lot of money. I'm not affordable.
Mhm. You're
And so,
costing them more than you are making them at that point.
right, right.
Mhm.
And so we have to look at what is the lifestyle that we're advocating for. And here's the
Right.
other thing, there's a really brilliant man. His name is Daryl Moon, and he's one of Vistage's most sought after CEO speakers. And he speaks about this. And he says, the CEO of these companies have the right to choose what kind of plan they want. And they're
Mhm.
not choosing something that's financially viable. It's not working. So why are you
Mhm.
still choosing it if it's not working?
Mhm.
And I give examples throughout the book, like for instance, Brazil nuts and statins. So my husband used to work for a company, it was a Western Medical. At the beginning of every meeting, like you need to get everybody on a statin. Not like they need one, just get them on one and get them back. Okay. And so and I'm like, well, that can't be good. And the truth of the matter is, we know, and there's evidence and research that shows PubMed studies that a statin will then result in some people becoming diabetic. It will also result in depression and clearly muscle tears. I witnessed this several times with people I know. So they their muscles tear just out of nowhere. Like, I don't know why I got a muscle tear. Okay. Now there's the side effect, and then there's like uh, what it does to you, like the cost, right? Well, we know it costs a lot of money, but most people will afford $30 a month. They will. It's not a big deal until you look at the cost of a Brazil nut. So you need 4 Brazil nuts a month. So it's like 80 cents. You could get a big bag and share it with your friends, and you all can have healthy cholesterol levels. You know, she's laughing.
Mhm.
And so for me, I start looking at that. I look at anxiety. And by the way, if you're watching this and you have these issues, you need to see a doctor. Okay, you can't just spit this out. You need to see a doctor. When you're getting off a drug, you have to see a Western medical doctor. I'm sorry, that's all there is to it. And you also need to see a holistic doctor so that these doctors are managing your process the way you do. If you don't do it that way, you get what you get. And I can't be responsible for that. But the other thing is the mental health community. So the mental health community is the only community, only health doctor that doesn't look at the organ that they treat. Are you familiar with that?
You're cutting out a little bit, or you're a little bit muffled. That this the only doctor that what?
So the mental health community, like psychiatrists,
Yes.
doctors, they're the only doctors that don't look at the organ that they treat.
Ah. Yes, they don't.
Uh-uh.
They're treating the brain. They're not really looking at it though.
They're not looking at the brain before they make a diagnosis.
Right.
And
They're
so in the
going
book,
based on your symptoms.
mhm,
Hmm.
and I asked for a test back in 1997, and they said there was none. So they didn't do parasite testing, food sensitivity testing. They didn't test. Um, they didn't ask me what my diet was. Okay, do you have a question or do you have a concern? Both. She says you might have a story to share about what you know about this. She goes, "What does Michelle have to say?"
Mm, I don't know. I don't think about that. She's very active today, though.
I know. I think she's anxious with given the circumstances of events at this house. So, you know.
She's got a lot of anxious
Oh.
energy.
Mhm. So I'm going to talk about the last chapter of the book. Shall I?
Sure.
The last chapter of the book is called Words Are Just Vibrations in the Air. Okay. It's a culmination of several different authors. And I have the table of contents here because we have to fix that up before we go to print. And it's chapter 21. And, ow, you're going to have to be kind. Oh, she wants me to talk about leading with love. We will. Let me get to that, okay? So the first chapter, really, we are talking about leading with love, right? And there's a picture, artwork by Jen Carlquist Reed, who is simply amazing. She's an amazing artist. Also, she's in functional medicine. She's a physician's assistant for the last 17 years, who understood that a pill for every ill wasn't working, so she shifted, right? She's brilliant, and she's also a medical intuitive. How cool is that? So in an artist, so she did the artwork for the beginning of that chapter, and in that chapter we have I want to say it's like 14 contributing authors, and I have several contributions to that chapter. And the reason I came up with that chapter is because basically it was a love letter to my husband, right? My husband and I at the time were experiencing communication issues, right? And I'm trying to get a point across, and it's not working. So I just start writing, and it ended up being like a love letter to him, meaning understanding the importance of boundaries, feelings, the importance of listening, um, confrontation. And so you might say, okay, these are great words. What does that really mean? It means there's a vibration or an expectation or an experience of past lives, present life that you have with the word, oh, confrontation, right? And some people think confrontation's like me. I think confrontation's good. Like, I love the word confrontation. It feels good. It allows people to hear what needs to be said, and it allows people to get clarity, and it allows people to be in relationship, and it allows you to grow and connect. What's your opinion of confrontation?
I agree. Being so my astrology helps me a lot with this. I'm a double Scorpio, and so I love to dig deep. I love to like hit things head on, and it's because I understand that if you lift up the rug and shove it all underneath there, guess what? That dirt's still there. It doesn't go away just because you can't see it. It's like a child, that hides behind a curtain or something and you can see its little feet. It's like, I know you're there. I
Mhm.
can still see you. You're just not looking at me. So I absolutely do. I love confrontation. Well, I love the conversation and I love the opportunity to be able to bring something out into the open to discuss, to learn and glean knowledge from the other person, as well as give my, thoughts on it as well. And then make our own choices at that point once both parties or all parties have been able to, speak their truth in the matter.
Absolutely. And um, you know, and to me, like, I understand how a lot of people are afraid of confrontation because they don't have a good experience, they don't have a good outcome. Some people use confrontation to bully people or to get their way. Like, I'm not ignorant to that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to create a safe place. But
Yes.
the goal is to shift the mindset. If you choose that confrontation is going to be bad, then that's what you get, right?
Mhm.
And if you
Right.
choose that confrontation is going to be a good outcome, maybe not wonderful, maybe you don't like the outcome, but at least you know where you stand, right? You know,
Yes. Yes.
she wants me to show the book.
You have answers.
You have an answer. You know where you stand. Yeah, for sure. And so here's the book. It's Emotional Healing, Toxic Free Living. It's available on Amazon. You can get it's in pre-sale. And I just want to show this. This is really pretty exciting for me. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Um, so the book is endorsed by three amazing people. So one is Dr. Patrick Porter. He's the CEO and inventor of BrainTap. Um, and BrainTap technology really helps people shift their mindset. It activates the brain's neuroplasticity and really gives you a mental vacation. And he is a world renowned, award winning author, educator, and consultant, and researcher and entrepreneur. And I'm so grateful that he read my book. He wants people to really use this as their guide to reclaiming their health. So that was really exciting.
Very
The
exciting.
Yeah, and then Dr. Michelle Kukla, that was my doctor. That was my doctor back in 2014. And she says, through her powerful story, that I offer the tools we need to heal from within, make better choices, and take control of our health in a world often clouded by misinformation. And her wisdom is exactly what we need to thrive.
Mm.
And then Jeremy Freeman. I don't know if you know Jeremy Freeman, but he's the CEO of Freeman Formula. I know that you met him, Michelle. But he's also, besides being a visionary leader, um, a personal transformation specialist, IFBB professional athlete. He's actually, oh, it doesn't say it on this one. We'll have to fix it. But he is, thank you, girlfriend. Where are you going? Okay. So he was the model, like the inspiration for Mr. Incredible. Pixar's Mr. Incredible.
That makes total sense.
Uh-huh.
Makes total sense.
So 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 that's that. And then there's their full praise there. And then we have all these contributing authors, Dr. Matt James from Owner of Empowerment Corp, Dr. Stephen Spencer, John Raphael Hayes, Rajai, Dr. Scott. um, you can see we have a variety of people who are sharing their wisdom about how words are vibrations in the air. And when we understand that our words are either healing each other or harming each other, we
Mhm.
can start to choose how we show up differently in life. My
Yes.
husband was the inspiration, like I said, for this. And how it started was he would use the word thank you as an exit strategy. So when he decided he was done talking, he goes, "Well, thank you." I'm like, "Okay. Okay, you're ripping my ear out, honey? Okay." I have an earring on. That's it. Her little claw got caught there. And so anyway, I started realizing when that happened in 2018. Thank you, lovey. Oh my God, I love you. You're so sweet. I love you. Oh. I started realizing in 2018 how we can say a word, and depending on that tone, will drive how people are perceiving us. Do you agree?
Sure. I mean, something as simple as thank you, where when you initially hear the phrase thank you, most people would think that was a very kind, nice, loving, grateful phrase. But depending on how it's said, the tone, the intention behind it, it can mean a lot of different things.
Right. And we learned this from our parents. We learn our behaviors from our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, right? This is where we learn all this stuff. And so the book takes you through a path to unlearn these behaviors, unlearn the tone, unlearn the path, unlearn how you're doing things. Especially if you're not getting what you want. If you're getting what you want and you have the love that you want in your life, you have the joy, the happiness, your career is flourishing, keep doing what you're doing. But if you're not getting what you want, read the book. He's laughing at me. Um, questions?
So in the book, how how do you parlay the information of the actual um, the tangible things, as far as the foods, the water, the toxins, and those types of things, um, and the intangible, the mindset, things like that. How do you work those things together, and do you um, make suggestions of ways that we can improve our health in both of these areas? And
So,
how important are both of them to work together?
so they're hugely important, right? That they work together. So I explain how the chemicals are impacting our mental health, right? And what we have tons of evidence that shows what it's doing to our mental health, right? So the brain can't actually, there's an interference in the brain, so it doesn't then communicate the message. It doesn't signal to every organ, tissue, and cell in your body. Serotonin is a hormone and a messenger, and it's not sending the messages it needs to send, right?
Mhm.
um, Now, how do I help people shift and affect change? There's personal development sections throughout the book. Most of them are at the end of the book. There are a few in the middle because there was like, we just needed to do that, and I thought, if you're getting out of the box, you can just do it the way you want. So
Okay.
so I did. um, so I ask you a lot of questions so that you can be self aware, so you can take the time to journal what it is, you know, that I'm asking you, right? Like, for instance, I ask people, like, taming your tongue, is there places where you think you might be able to tame your tongue? Who are you doing that with, right? And what could you do differently, and how could you do it differently? Because I can't tell them how to do it. Um, Now, I will say that when I saw my doctor, Michelle Kugla, I chose not to speak to people until I had a plan from her, because there were a lot of things I didn't know how to communicate in a way that could be well received. So I had to learn how to do that. And I have several resources in that book, like the DESC profile that helps people have a crucial conversation, the book itself, Crucial Conversations. So there's a lot of resources, all of which I used on my journey to reclaim my health. Um, and then there's QR codes in the book. And the QR codes take you to videos that you can watch and learn. And it teaches you how to receive forgiveness, because we don't heal without it, and how to, ow, you're hurting me. Okay, I'll give you attention in a second. Um, how to receive forgiveness and how to give forgiveness. But it also says, and this is really important, and it's very pertinent for me today, look, people, if people aren't honoring your boundaries, you want to absolutely forgive, but you can walk away. You don't have to stay. Okay. You're not required to stay. You can love people from afar. There's a lot of people I love, and I don't interact with them. I can't help how I love them. I can't help that I love them sometimes. I just can't. I don't feel like I can. Michelle may have a different opinion. But for me, at where I'm at today, I can help if I love somebody.
Mhm.
But I can help keeping the distance. Like, if they're not going to honor my boundaries, if they're not going to stand for me, if they're not going to honor me or fight for the relationship, in the case of my husband, right? He doesn't want to fight for our relationship. Um, it's okay. Love them where they're at. Let them go. You know, if people can't always be where you're at, and it's okay. You got to let them go. And that was the most important lesson that I learned. My mother, my mother was an angel on earth despite her problems. She was an angel on earth. And I was an infant. I was just born. And she gave me a picture. We've spoken about this before. It's actually I later learned it was a takeoff of one of a proverb from Cahill Gibran.
Mhm.
If you love something very, very much, let it go free. And if it was meant to be yours, it'll come back and then love it forever. And sometimes we just have to do that because some people, my sister would disagree with me on this. I feel people need to love themselves enough or love themselves, period, before they can show proper love, in my opinion, to others. They need to know that they need to have self-worth. They need to have their deserve level up. They need to know that they deserve to have their needs met. And if they don't feel that they deserve to have their needs met, then they're certainly not going to do it for their spouse or their friends. And so, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wrote something yesterday, I believe it was, that it says, if we don't love ourselves, we can not receive love in the way that is best for us. We cannot give love in the way that is best for us, nor can we expect that others can give us the love that we say we want. Because in reality, if we're not loving ourselves, then we don't really know what love is to us or how we want to receive it. Because if we are saying the words that, if we say the words, I want to be loved, and we don't love ourselves, then perhaps other people will love us, but are they really loving us in the way that we desire to be loved? They're only able to then love you in the way that they know to love you. And it doesn't mean that that's wrong. It means that you haven't shown them by the way that you love yourselves. If you look at your life, most of us can see the evolution of our relationships as we have matured, right? So when we were in grade school and, you know, some of you had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, in grade school. That was cute love, right? You you might have held their hand. Oh my gosh, that was like really a big deal, right? But what happened when that
I'm just laughing about that. I'm sorry. Yeah, because you're like you're touching, right?
yeah,
You're like, wow.
exactly. Like you almost feel like you're doing something wrong. Oh my gosh, we're holding hands. Oh my gosh, this is so risque, right? Even though you don't even know what that word means. Um, but you go from that, and then what happens when that little boy or little girl decides to go play with somebody else on the playground instead of playing with you on the playground? Well, your whole life is, I mean, you're crushed. Your heart is just absolutely crushed. And you look at that type of love, and then
Mhm.
you fast forward. You
Right.
fast forward and you think about the love that you have now or the most recent love that you had in your life. And I'm specifically talking about romantic love, but it can be any kind of love because even our love for our family evolves,
Yes,
right?
it does.
As we evolve, our love evolves. And so the beauty is when we can love ourselves. And this is a process. This doesn't happen overnight because you have to get to know yourself. And most of us don't see the entire picture in one day. So it is a process to understand and know and learn yourself. And then you can learn to receive love because if you don't feel that you are worthy of love, then you're not going to accept love from others. How many people do you know that have a hard time taking a compliment? If you compliment them, they say, oh, they play it off somehow. Well, that's because they're not comfortable receiving a compliment because they don't actually feel they deserve it.
Right. And I was that person forever, by the way.
I know. I know. And it's the same thing with love. If someone says they love you, if your friend says, I love you,
Mhm.
deep down, do you really understand what that means? And do you really hear them in the way that it's intended? Or deep down, are you thinking, yeah, you love me until I can't do anything for you anymore? Or you love me
Well, and
until
I have a friend who does that. Like I
there
have
you
a girlfriend and I hear her thinking, right? I keep it to myself.
yeah,
I hear her.
right. And
Mhm.
that's not fun to feel that energy from someone else. And it's not fun for them to hear from you.
Mhm.
And so the best gift that you can give yourself and anyone that you love is that you love yourself first. And I know this is counterintuitive to what a lot of the world will say to you. And I'll just kind of go back to a previous show that we had about religion, right? A lot of religions will tell you that that is not the way that it should be. You should not love yourself first.
You must.
You must, because otherwise you don't know how to receive love from anyone, including God, the universe, Buddha, whatever.
You must. And actually, you know what? I really want to talk about that because
I do too, because, and here's why I want you to talk about that. Excuse
uh-huh.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
I want you to talk about that because this is so integral, however people say it, to this book.
Mhm.
Because if you don't love yourself, you likely will get very little out of this book because you're not going to think it's for you, because you're not going to believe that you are worthy of health
Or love,
and or
right?
love.
Mhm.
This is about, emotional health, that love is encompassing in that, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't love yourself, I would suggest you buy this book on pre-sale and then you go do some work. You can hire Jodi or myself. You can hire a lot of other people. You can go on YouTube and watch free videos.
Tons of them.
So many different ways to do this. But please, please, please begin to understand your worth and love yourself so that you can then read this book and you can gain the knowledge and the it take in the information and then allow yourself to live in that. Okay, please talk to us about love.
Yeah. I want to talk about where we get, well, first of all, we get our ideas about love from our family. That's our foundation. Would you
Sure.
agree?
Yes, absolutely. And they grow differently from then on, but they start there for sure.
So I'm going to share part of the story. I'm going to put a template on everybody who hears this and hears it in the future so that you can receive it in a way that is safe for you, okay, and doesn't traumatize you, okay? So, and let me just make sure that plays. Yes, okay, it's complete. Um, I'm going to tell you a trauma that I had at the age of 4, and what I want to tell you is it shaped my self-worth for my entire life until I chose to change it. And that's why the work is so important. You see, our parents do the best that they can with what they got, right? So they raise us the way that they were raised or what they learned different, or if they know they didn't like something, they'll maybe do the polar opposite. You know, I want to just preface this by saying I love both my parents with all my heart, and they're my guides, and they made some major mistakes, and it is okay. So my dad was part of the mafia, and he didn't have a dad growing up. I mean, he had a dad, but he wasn't present. So my dad was, cleaning fish by the dock at a very young age, and really was part of the mafia, like as a kid, and that's how he grew up. So here he is. He's got 5 kids, and he's also cheating on my mom. And now I'm going to say, I want to throw him grace on that. I have no anger on this at all whatsoever because he married my mom, who was his soulmate. And then he met Judy Ritter, who is that his twin flame. Now, she may not know that they were twin flames, but I do. So I don't know anybody who would want to come down to earth and have to make a choice between the soulmate and the twin flame. It sucks. So send him grace, you know. Sorry, Dad, that you had to go through that. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Judy. Send you guys all love. But imagine the stress that this man's going through, right? And the guilt he had. So now he wanted to make sure that all the kids stayed in line for the week. So on Tuesdays, he would line up all the kids, get a belt out, and hit us all. And I'm truncating that and not giving you the energy on it, but I'm going to tell you it was not a good energy. And it shaped who I was so much that I would never wear tight clothes, baggy clothes all the time. No one was allowed to see my body. When I had to go to the beach and take off my cover up, I would tears, tears at someone because the imprint that he gave me was that my who I was as a 4-year-old, just the reason for being was not okay. He invalidated who I was as a person, which made me translate that to I'm not lovable. And I didn't have a foundation. So that's my story. That's a story I made up in my head about the experience. Now, we all make up stories in our heads about whatever experience we have. You need to figure out what your story is for your experience, okay? So, and it's maybe completely different than mine. It's a story that I made up as a 4-year-old, okay? The truth was, I was very lovable. It was safe actually to take your clothes off in a bathing suit. I didn't have to wear baggy clothes. I didn't have to do any of that. That was my reaction to create safety for myself. And so you want to look at where are you creating safety? Where are you also keeping the distance? Okay? Because I ended up with small fiber neuropathy, right? I ended up with sores all over my body. Why? That's how I keep the distance. That's how I keep people from loving me, from being connected to me. I found our emotions, whatever they are, manifest as a physical ailment in your life. It happens no other way. You give me an emotion, I'll give you a physical ailment. Okay? And there's a whole book on it called it's a vet rose, and it's metaphysical biology. Uh, your body's talking. Are you listening? And so when we choose to listen, right, really start looking. I've had, and I'll just tell you guys, I've had this problem with my left eye for probably 2 months. Part of it was from this lifetime, and part of it was ancestral. So I've had to spend 2 months of doing the energy work and releasing the emotions from my ancestors that were passed on during, in DNA that I took on and had to release. So I'm just telling you, it's convoluted, it's twisted. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Just saying. I mean, and I came down here to teach this to people. It's okay. I stopped getting upset about it. I'm like, the eye, it's going to heal or it's not going to heal. I'll figure it out or I won't figure it out. At this point, I don't really have an attachment to it. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't look good. I'm actually just okay. I'm like, WTF. Oh, good. It looks good today. Good, because I have a show. I mean, and so it gives you, when you get that some of this stuff is really not even your fault, you get detached. Now, it doesn't change the fact that you are now responsible for healing it.
Right.
But you don't have to take the blame.
So, what can people expect to learn from the book? And who is this book for?
It's for everybody. So first of all, look, if you're not getting what you want, you're going to learn how to get what you want. You are going to learn that some of the symptoms that you have, it may be common, but it's not normal. And so you can choose after reading the book, even the first couple chapters, to stop accepting less than what you deserve. Because you deserve all the goodness that life has to offer. And you have to choose the goodness, choose the love. Because when you, the most important part about love, excuse me, I'm going to lean in and I want you to really hear me. I love Michelle, and I know Michelle loves me, but I do not find my self-worth through Michelle. And Michelle does, I can speak for Michelle on this. Michelle does not find her self-worth through me. She is so anchored into God that the only one that she's pleasing, because we're both recovering people pleasers, the only one she's worried about pleasing is him or her. We can all decide on that later. But you cannot see and receive your self-worth through the eyes of others, people. Because people are judgmental. I'll say I'm the first one who is. We all are. We're hardwired. And we can do our best to dial it back, but we're all hardwired. Sorry. And there's a difference between judgment and discernment, and y'all can take it up on another day. But we do give that distinction in there. And here's what I'm going to say. What you're going to get out of this book, you're going to rise up. You're going to rise up out of the ashes, and you're going to choose what you want on your terms. But the most important thing is you're going to do it with love, ease, and grace. And you probably won't do that on the first try. Unless you were, unless you didn't grow up in a war zone like I did. Like, so that answer the question, Michelle?
It did. And then I have a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm. And I love you.
So I love you too. So when people finish the book, you've given them direction on how to take care of themselves physically and how to care for themselves emotionally, mentally. So where do they go from there? Now what?
Yeah, there's so many different ways. One, the easy thing, there's a functional food program that I have. It's very inexpensive. The price is changing, so I'm not going to announce it here. Right now, it's $33. And it takes you through a path of understanding every single solitary food and what it does for your emotions. But the other thing is we've got all these other authors who are doctors, right? We have a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Steven Spencer. If you need, like, I'm giving you baseline, right? I'm giving you lifestyle, toxic-free living. If you need to rip up and be like Mr. Or Miss bodybuilder, right? And you want to rip, you go see him because he's going to show you that path in a nanosecond. Brilliant, brilliant man. If you want help with mindset, you can go to Jeremy Freeman or Dr. Matt James from Empowerment Corp, Jeremy Freeman from Freeman Formula. If you want to take it more into your own hands, Brain Tap with Dr. Patrick Porter, right? Where you can retrain your brain daily, at least 3 times a day. You can go do that. You can join me and my tribe, and we do group healing. You can do that. Share it with a friend. But there's a multitude of ways. There's so many paths. to greatness here. Because now that you have a baseline, the world's your oyster and you can lead. Does that make sense?
It does. Is there a way, because I'm just feeling like there's going to be somebody that reads this book and they're going to want to make the changes, but they're not going to know where to go to get help to make those changes. So,
They're
is
all in,
there a reason?
oh yeah, they're all in the book. So we have QR codes, like we've got videos on self-forgiveness, we've got videos on food, um, we've got people in the mental health space, in the addiction space, we've got people in the mindset space, the leadership space. So these are all your resources. You want to reach out to them. And we have intuitives. I'm a medical intuitive. And so I also have training programs. If you know, I'm really, we both are, but I mean, I'm right. I'm really good at what I do. So are you, right? I mean, we are really good at what we do.
Mhm.
And so you need training on that. We both Michelle and I have coaching that we do for people, and um, to get them to where they need to go. And if we feel that we're not the right fit for you, we'll tell you and refer you out, right? And
Mhm.
so a lot of what I do, I mean, look, like I said, I'm the baseline. But there's so many people who are referenced. Dr. John DeMartini, I trained under him for years. I think everybody should train under Dr. John DeMartini. Um, you know, but I suggest that you read my book and do my workbook before you see DeMartini, because otherwise you might be headed for a rude awakening. He had me in tears so many times. I'm going to tell you. So, and it's okay. I trained with him for many, many years. I needed to wake up. So, um,
Mhm.
so I mean, I mean, the book is really the epitome of me. Meaning, I like to connect people to other people so that they can get what they need. So,
Mhm.
if you don't find what you're looking for in that book, I would be really surprised, right? Because I mean, I've been at the printer several days this week working on the format. I'm like, get that QR code in, get that QR code in, you know. So there's lots of ways for people to find more resources. And whenever you reach out to these resources, they're going to have more resources for you. Does that make sense?
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So with the we have a couple of minutes left, and I'd like to have you show people where they can get the book again, and then explain. So it's in pre-sale now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And what formats is it available in? What formats will it be available in? Tell them a little bit about that.
Thank you, Libby.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna bring it up on Amazon. Let me just go here. Gosh, I have chills. Uh, thank you.
That's
So
really cool, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the link is in the thread for the website, which also takes you eventually to Amazon. And I'm putting the Amazon link in here as well. And I'm going to do a quick screen share. Hold on, that eye is itching. Okay. Woohoo! So it is in Kindle version right now. On Thursday, we're uploading the paperback version, so that'll be available. Okay.
Awesome.
Then,
I'm waiting for that one, I have to tell you, because I like the tactile. I'm very tactile in that way. I like to have the actual thing. So I'm looking very forward to that.
thank you. Yeah, and it's a full color book. So
Yeah.
there's it's so when I studied nutrition, I learned about what's called foresting, and similar to what we call grounding here in the United States, they call foresting in Japan. And so what the book includes pictures of the forest, of flowers, of bees, of dragonflies, caves, vortexes that um, that keep you grounded as you read this book, because it's critical to stay grounded when you read this book. Some of it's going to shift your mindset and you'll be like, oh no, really? look at the flower to the left, okay? Look at the cave to the left, because it'll keep you grounded as you are thwarted about this new information, okay? Then after that, we have a workbook that's coming out. So right now we have questions at the end of every chapter, as I mentioned. That is, how you process and do the personal development. But then the workbook is coming out that will be all clouds with lines, and we have all the questions plus additional questions in the workbook. Right? We're taking a
Awesome.
deeper dive. And
Okay.
then thirdly, which probably won't be for a little bit, but I'll start it, as soon as possible, is I will do an audible version. So so that's kind of what we're
Wonderful.
doing. And I already have the title for the next book that I'm writing. Um, so if you want to laugh about it, um, so my husband and I had to deal with um, things like past lives and how it impacted our present situation. So the next book title is When Past Lives Come Back to Haunt You. So we buried some things we didn't really need or want. So thank you for that. Yeah, so you go to Amazon, and it's emotional healing, toxic free living, uh, model new behaviors, reset old belief systems.
Wonderful.
So where
Well,
are you going to
Jodi,
be this week, by the way? Because we need to tell people where you will be. I know we've been talking about me, and thank you for interviewing me on my show. I love you.
yes. No, I want to say I'm going to speak for all of the listeners, and we are congratulating you on the book, on such a beautiful accomplishment. It is not easy
Mhm.
for most people to dive that deep and tell their story with vulnerability in a way that can not only shed light and educate, but also uplift and encourage. Um, because you want to help others. So, thank you for bringing that book to light, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to say that this book really would not be possible without people like you, um, really all the healers. And people don't realize the power of love and friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost speechless right now about it, but I will just say that, Michelle, you model, sorry, you model a behavior of tenacity when it comes to relationships that for me to witness has been unrecognizable. And so, look, I mean, you've been my model so that I can teach people what I take what you do, and I modify it for myself. We all do this, guys. We learn from different people, and we make our own little soup out of it. But um, if I'm not your model or Michelle's not your model, find your model, right?
Mm-hmm.
Find a model that
Mm-hmm.
works for you. We don't have to be your model. We're pretty good though.
Pretty good models, if we do say so ourselves.
Yeah. I I am inspired by you, as you know. So,
Thank you.
um, and and I'm not saying other people don't inspire me, but you have a level of consistency, of showing up, being present. Well, she has a message for you. By the way, you notice that she's been on my shoulder the entire time for the first time in
I
2
know. I did not even want to say anything to jinx it, but I am just floored and so happy that she's been here the whole time.
Yeah. Um, she's saying that she had to release her traumas as well. And thank you, honey. She's saying, "Mommy, help me release my traumas,"
Mhm.
which was
Yeah.
actually connected to this eye. So we can be corded to other people and have a manifestation of disease because we're corded to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not easy, it's complicated, that's just how it works.
Well,
So,
and chords are just energy, and that's why what we both do is powerful because we can take on energies from others um, that are not for us, and they can show up as different things that may have no logical explanation from anyone, especially Western medicine doctors. And so sometimes when we do the energy work, those things get cleared because that's what it was in the first place. It was just energy. And energy can be moved and manipulated.
well, and we talk a lot about that in the book. And matter of fact, my girlfriend, she has two beautiful 11-year-olds, and I apparently was their mother in a past life. So she had a really bad problem with her left ear. Well, I think it was the left ear, but with her ear yesterday. We went through our little energy checklist, and in seconds it was gone, the pain.
Yeah.
So I think the ending message is you don't have to have pain. You don't have to suffer. There's a lot of things that you've been told that are not true, and you can choose different. We talk a lot about energy in the book. We didn't even talk about that really, but we talk a lot about energy and how, I mean, really, people, you are so. Here's where we're going to end because otherwise we'll just go all day. We, you, all of us are so powerful. Our brains, our energy field, we're so powerful that they fed you information to make you think that you were not. And once you find out how powerful you are, guess what? You rise up. It's a choice in the matter. Mwah.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen to that.
I'm going to end this on that. I love you all. Mwah. Call us. Hot shot. Buy the book.
Bye.
Bye.